No,
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
You
don't.
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second. You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
well, then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. Today, guys, we're back here in a new video. Today, we're going to be checking out Elon Musk. This is an incredible guy. You just lied. Elon Musk scattered a BBC reporter in live interview. I'd love to check this video out. I have this video on my list, but I'll just not check it out for a long time now, and I'd love to check this video out with you guys and see how it goes. I'm also a big fan of Elon Musk, and I'm really glad and happy that he supported Donald Trump, and Donald Trump won the election. So let's get right to this video, guys.
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And if at the point at which you lose free speech, it doesn't come back.
I think the issue some people have is that a lot of people were brought back. I mean, some people were brought back who were previously banned for spreading things like QAnon conspiracies. You have people like Andrew Tate who were brought back, who were previously banned for things like hate speech. Do you think you prioritize freedom of speech over misinformation and hate speech?
Well, you know, who's to say that something is misinformation?
Thank you.
Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC?
You're literally asking me?
Yes.
Well, no, you are the arbiter on Twitter, because you own Twitter.
Yes, I'm saying who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information? At the point at which you say that there is this is misinformation, like who is going to decide that?
You accept that misinformation can be dangerous, that it can cause real-world harms, that it can potentially cause...
Yes, so the point I'm trying to make is that the BBC itself has, at times, published things that are false.
True. Several things.
Do you agree that that has occurred?
I'm quite sure the BBC have said things before that turn out to not be true.
Correct.
In its, whatever it is, 100-year history, I'm quite sure.
Yes. Even if you aspire to be accurate, there are times when you will not be.
We've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
what hate speech are you talking about? I mean, you use Twitter,
right?
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
but just a personal anecdote. Like, what do you? I don't.
Personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
So you see more hate speech personally?
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like, or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
you
don't.
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second. You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
well, then how did you see that hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet, and yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well,
that's false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not... I mean, right, and
literally
you can look at something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK. They will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I've already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know there's hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
Wow.
COVID misinformation. You changed the COVID misinformation.
Has
rules.
BBC changed its COVID misinformation?
The BBC does not set the rules on Twitter, so I'm asking you.
No, I'm talking about the BBC's misinformation about COVID.
I'm literally asking you about, you changed the labels, the COVID misinformation labels. There used to be a policy, it then disappeared. Why do that?
Well, COVID is no longer an issue. Does the BBC hold itself at all responsible for misinformation regarding masking and side effects of vaccinations, and not reporting on that at all? And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change its editorial policy? Are you aware of that?
This is not an interview about the BBC.
Oh, you thought it wasn't?
I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces. I am not a representative of the BBC's editorial policy. I want to make that clear. Let's talk about something else. If you want to talk about the BBC, all right. Let's talk about something else.
You weren't expecting that.
He wasn't expecting that. It's really funny that Elon Musk was the one interviewing him instead of the reporter interviewing Elon Musk. It was really hilarious. The reporter is bullshitting, guys. He's bullshitting, and it's obvious that he's lying, and he just don't want to accept it. When Elon Musk caught him right-handed, it felt like the ground should open and swallow him on an instant, and he just wants to quickly leave that spot. And Elon Musk knows his game. Like Elon Musk understands what he's trying to do. He's trying to paint Elon Musk bad, that there is some kind of misinformation going on in this platform, which the reporter is not certain about, and he's just lying his ass off right there. He's lying. Something you saw 4 weeks ago, you said there were a lot of misinformation. At least you can mention one. You understand? You can at least mention just one, even if it's not 3 or 2, just one. Something you see 4 weeks ago, is your mind that shallow? You'll be able to remember. And if he can't mention one that he said he saw in his For You page, it means he never saw anything. He just assumed. You see, something about these leftists, they are just like that. They assume things in their head and feel like it's right. You understand? And I love how Elon Musk puts him straight. You understand? Elon Musk really slaughter, demolish this guy. On live TV, guys, Elon Musk demolish him. The reporter was never expecting that. He was never expecting Elon Musk to be that brutal towards him, and he felt like the ground should open and swallow him on an instant. It was when they had a turn in the interview. It was like Elon Musk was one interviewing him, and he was one speechless. Notice his body language. You see his hands around his thighs. You notice he was tensed, and he was stumbling while speaking. It means he was like, I've made a mistake. I've just lied on a live interview, and this man just caught me. It was obvious. Watch his body language. You will know that he was really tensed. The guy actually admitted that BBC had brought out a lot of misinformation during the years. Then he was trying to rush away from that and enter into COVID era. And Elon Musk was like, COVID's not as intense as before. So you don't tell him what to put in his platform and what to take off. You understand? So I love how Elon Musk brought this man into clearer paths, because the guy was just assuming That's just something I dislike about the left people. Like, I love this man, like, really, really well. And I love how he handled this reporter. Seeing this video, I was... I'm really impressed. Like, I'm really, really impressed. Like, this is a tech guy. A tech guy defeating or beating or destroying a BBC reporter. This is his job. The BBC reporter, this is his job. And it's distanced with Elon Musk. I feel like Elon Musk is actually media trained because Elon Musk had his coup there and he destroyed a BBC reporter like live. This is not pre-recorded. This was live on BBC. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. Comment down below, talk about this video, give us a thumbs up, share this video as many as you can, guys. Subscribe to the channel, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you stay safe.